All right. Good afternoon. I am Janine. I'm coming to you from my home in Wisconsin. I am the moderator for the third panel today. I have with me Brian Brooks, Shambhala Roach, James Moore, and Kyle Friedman. I've set a poll out. If you can just take a look at it. It says, do you have a retention strategy for your veteran employees? Yes, no, or in the planning stages, because that's our topic, right? We're talking about retention. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you just a couple of things about me, and then I'm going to turn it over to the panel, and they're going to introduce themselves. So again, my name is Janine. I'm in my home in Wisconsin. I am the owner of my business called Sparrow Consulting, LLC. I am a one-woman show military spouse owned organization. And what I do is I work with employers to ensure that they understand the hiring processes, military culture, and I do that through workshops and trainings. And on the other side of the house, I prepare all of our service members to go to different places and get amazing positions. We're really excited to have you all logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking, and I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Janine. Brian Brooks. I'm the talent acquisition manager with Knowles. Here at Knowles, we manufacture high performance components for a variety of markets to include med tech, defense and aerospace, industrial, and electrification. We are a global company. We have 22 facilities in over 10 countries, and we currently have over 5,000 employees around the globe. Prior to that, I am a 15-year Navy veteran, 15 years on active duty, 10 of which was spent in recruiting. This will be my second time speaking at a Vet Indexes event, and it's just an honor and a privilege to be here with you all today.
All right, and I'll go next. So I'm Dr. Shambhala Roach, the program manager of military affairs for HCA Healthcare. HCA Healthcare is one of the nation's largest leading providers of healthcare services, and HCA Healthcare is made up of over 190 hospitals, 2,400 sites of care, and we cover 20 states as well as the United Kingdom. So as a large organization, we have well over 100,000 employees. Roughly about 17,000 of our employees are military connected in one way. So they're either a military veteran currently serving or a military spouse. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. I served for about 25 years, and I'm also a Navy spouse as well too. And overall, in this position, my mission is to make sure that I'm championing the military connected community to make sure that they're getting meaningful careers, developing recruitment strategies, supporting the network that we have internally, and making sure that their experience is being translated appropriately so that they can get those fulfilling roles in HCA.
Good afternoon, everyone. James Moore. I'm a partner here at KPMG. KPMG is one of the big four accounting firms. We have roughly over 250,000 employees globally. I serve as the co-chair for our Veterans Business Resource Group. I've been with the firm about 10 years, also a veteran. I'm an engineer officer, spent about 20 years, both active and reserves. I'm happy to be with you today and looking forward to this conversation.
And I am Kyle Friedman. I'm the Director of Talent with Pond & Company. We're a full services architecture engineering firm, international firm, headquartered out of Atlanta. I'm actually speaking to you from our HQ out here. And I've been with the firm for about 3.5 years at this point, and I oversee our recruiting and our training for our employees. And our biggest client within Pond is actually the U.S. government, so DoD specifically. So definitely have a vested interest in this. I did not serve myself, so I'm underqualified in many respects to be on this panel, but definitely appreciate everybody's service and honestly, just very passionate about this topic. So excited to kind of share with you what we're doing out here at Pond, and hopefully be able to get some ideas from others as well.
Thank you all. So ladies and gentlemen, I've set a poll out. So at the very top on your screen on the right underneath your name or next to the where you see chat, people, and polls. Please click on that. The poll is asking you, do you have a retention strategy for your veteran employees? Yes, no, and in the planning stages. I will run this poll for the entire time that we're talking. Also, please feel free to pop questions in for Q&A or in the chat. I will be checking all of those, okay? So we're going to just go ahead and start with our very first question. Again, our topic has to do with retention after that first year. So we're going to start with Shambhala. What programs or initiatives do you have that have positively impacted veteran hiring?
And thank you for that question, Janine. So some of the programs that we have that positively impacted veteran hiring, first off is our Skill Bridge program. The way that we do Skill Bridge is a bit different than some organizations to where it's more of a white glove service. And when we're bringing people into our organization, we're looking at their capabilities and not putting any type of restrictions on what type of roles that they could be in. So it could be anything that could be considered entry level. The highest position that we place someone in is a COO role with a hospital as well. And we found that if we put people in the places that they are capable of serving in and based on their overall background, that we'll be able to retain them better when it comes to that, and they're more apt to accept our offers. We also do some of the traditional things, which is working with nonprofit organizations as well as educational institutions, doing different type of outreach with them to also help with our recruitment. And last but not least, we have a very small but very eager team of military sourcers who will sit down and speak with as many service members as possible to discuss what type of vacancies they have, what is it that they're looking to do, and try to be an advocate for them so that when they're looking at these different roles, they have someone who's on their side to help them out, kind of get them out of that application system so that they're not getting lost in the shuffle there. But those are some of the programs that we have within ACA Healthcare.
Okay, James, what you got?
Yeah, at the firm, we have 10 business resource group, and one is they're open to all partners and employees. And the Veterans BRG is one of them. It was established back in 2012 and was with a commitment to creating initiatives and programs that support veterans, current reservists, guardsmen, military spouse, caregivers, and family members. But I want to stress the point that it's open to all. So we have individuals who are allies that are part of our BRG. But we divided into really three pillars. The pillar of getting here, that's our recruitment integration priorities for veterans. Succeeding here is putting in place support mechanism to ensure that that first 365 days is a success, giving the tools and resources to fully integrate it into the firm, and then leading here. So after they've been here for a year or two, we want to make sure we put them on a path to leadership roles, whether it's a management role or even on the path to partnership. So when you go back to the pillar of getting here, that's engaged, and we have a really innovative internship connectivity program. So we have interns that come in over the summer. We encourage them to join the BRG. Many do. And while they're spending their senior year in college, we maintain connectivity with them to check on them, make sure that things are going well, so that they have all the resources and information they need once they transition from college into the professional career here at KPMG. We also have a relationship with the service academies, where we partner with them for those individuals who may not be going on active duties to open up a pipeline into the firm. So with that getting here, I mean, we're setting the foundation to ensure that transition from either college or a service member moving to the firm, that they have all the support and handholding they need to be successful. We have a military acclimation program. Again, that program is designed to provide multiple touch points from day one to 365 days later, where they have a coach and a mentor that help them navigate the firm, which is extremely important. And we also have a spouses network. We have additional benefits and leave programs for our veterans. We have our chapters engaged in a ton of community organizations, community-based organizations that supports veterans. We feel all those programs help infuse the true nature of being a part of a bigger team, but also we feel that those programs also help those individuals fully integrate into the firm. And then the lead in here is a real intensive mentorship program where a manager is assigned with a member of the partner or MD group that help them expand their network, build their internal brand, and that supports them along their career trajectory as well. Those are the three pillars within our BRG that we feel very strongly about that have really helped veterans stay connected to the firm.
So I'll piggyback on that a little bit and probably have a bit of a different lens because Pond & Company is a bit smaller. Certainly, I say a bit, way smaller than KPMG, but we're about 900 employees right now. So resources, a little bit more limited, but we try to do the pretty similar in terms of those initiatives. So we have a skill bridge and Army CSP program here where we try to get people in and try to kind of groom them up, give them opportunities. Even within that, a lot of what we do is just interview prep and provide feedback. There's sometimes where we're extending out those invitations to interview where honestly we're probably not interested in that person at that moment, but it gives them a chance to get some experience and be able to hopefully kind of finesse those skills so that when a real opportunity comes through, they'll be more prepared for it. So that's definitely initiative one. Also, we try to partner with, I'll call them military organizations, and they differ at times as to the lens of it. SAME is a big one for us. So that's the Society of Military Engineering, Society of American Military Engineers. And they do a lot of events, anything from kind of K-12 education through the transition program, from service and going into civilian life. So, it gives us a chance to be able to kind of work with them, build that relationship, try to inspire people to start chapters within colleges, and again, gives us a chance to kind of give back, but also get in return because we get some exposure to some talent. Typically, we're hiring, more specialized architectural engineering type talent, site managers over a fueling station. So, having that lens of the military and understanding the protocols and understanding what that culture is definitely advantageous to us. The last thing that I kind of noted was just being able to do some good training internally. We've got the military through our blood out here at Pond, no doubt about it. CEO, on down, a lot of veterans through it. But from a recruiting standpoint, I am not. I did not serve. Our recruiting team hasn't, and a lot of our managers haven't. So a lot of the dedicated focus out here is being able to just talk about that translation between those skills that they'll gain in service and what will come back to us as in terms of corporate life. A lot of times there's bias, a lot of times there's just confusion, and being able to kind of take that step back. A lot of listening, a lot of learning from those that have been through that transition. And then being able to absorb that, being able to take very direct and intentional measures to differentiate those candidates from others, I think has helped us a lot in the journey. So, from building the relationships to getting involved in those committees. And we have an informal ERG of sorts where we get people together and I'm sure like many organizations on November 11th, we're having a nice little luncheon over here. Already last weekend, I think I saw a lot of fierce, I'll call it feedback coming through from the Air Force Navy games. So, those are the kind of things that we try to kind of inspire here and just make sure that everybody feels like there is a piece of that as part of our culture out here. But, those are, we're still a work in progress, to be quite honest, but those are some of the things that we're doing.
All right, Brian.
Sure. So, being a federal defense contractor, we have a pretty robust affirmative action plan. So we incorporate that into our recruiting plan. Part of that is the analytic portion, right? We're tracking our veteran representation within the company, the applicant flow data, the hiring, promotion, and termination rates for our veterans. And then, our outreach program, right? So we partner with the local and state job fairs and Department of Labor. Usually they're veteran side of the house, the VA transition centers and the voc rehab centers, especially the ones that are near our facilities, we maintain a relationship with, reach out, have our open positions sent to them. And then the multiple other organizations as well, right? Even down to your, American Legions and VFWs or foundations, right? Any type of organization, even events like this, that we can go out there and, let folks know that, we're out there, we exist, and we love to hire veterans. We do. And then on the recruiting aspect, we did design about a year and a half ago. We designed and implemented the company's first ever Skill Bridge program. That's something new that we got put in play. And then we attend any of the veteran, especially the bases that are near any of our facilities. We like to attend any of the career fairs or events that they have on any of the local bases nearby.
Yep. Nice. Thank you all very, very much. We're going to go on to our next question, and this is just building on what we started with. So, James, we're going to start with you. How have your specific programs increased veteran retention over the last couple of years?
Thank you for that question. I want to, circle back to one of the programs that I failed to mention is we do have a chapter challenge coin, which I think, as a veteran, anyone that served know what a challenge coin is and what you do to receive one and the pride you take in it. So we, at the national level, created this challenge coin to distribute to each chapter to reward members for going above and beyond, whether it's supporting the Carry Forward virtual 5K or supporting the Wounded Warrior programs or any of the local veteran-centric activities. So we feel that have created a sense of community within our BRG. Another thing we have is a internal Viva Engage, which is a communication platform. Again, being the firm the size of KPMG, we're able to communicate broadly to all members instantaneously to share information, to share stories. Stories as important as things like the birth of a new child or someone getting promoted within the BRG. It's that platform that everyone can get on and get information across the veteran community. But I also think, thinking back to the questions, really understanding what contributes to attrition within that first year is important. And looking at that transition from military service to the private sector. It's having that clear, expectation and identity, and removing that expectation gap and that identity drift, which I think is extremely important. I feel when veterans lack that clear mission or feel that their skills are underutilized, or they feel that they have lost their identity of purpose in their current role, that leads to dissatisfaction and individuals wanting to leave. I think also as an employer, we often struggle with that mapping of military experience to a civilian job. It was funny today, we had a pretty senior conversation around developing some AI tools to help us better make those that translation easier for our hiring partners to understand the value of some of those soft skills and intangible skills that our service members have. And so finding that match I think really will increase the retention, and also helping our first line supervisors who may not have military experience understand the culture of a veteran and that a veteran is accustomed to, that structure, that and discipline and mission focus that they bring to the table, and how that aligns with the goals of the things we do within the firm. So what we feel that has really worked within KPMG is having a structured onboarding process with role clarity and a really robust mentorship program for different skill set, different positions, because everyone don't have the same needs. So we want to make sure that it's customized to the individual that we're bringing on. And another thing is that the buddy system. If you spent time in the military, you always had a battle buddy. And so we use that same concept within the firm, that you have someone, and this is the person that really just walk the halls with you, show you what how to use all the multiple systems that we have within the firm, and separate and apart from your transition coach. You also have a transition coach that's a more formal. Every month you're going to meet, you're going to talk about all the stuff that's required to be successful with this firm. But your buddy is that person that you can have those informal coffee chats with and really hold your hand. And, if you're having some difficulties, can really be that sounding board for you. And we truly feel that those programs have really paid dividends in having very low attrition within our veteran community.
Yeah, James, I mean, the work that they're doing out there in his organization is top notch, and definitely we try to kind of mirror pieces of that over here at Pond. So I'll speak to kind of our onboarding piece here first, because I think first impressions do a lot to keeping them here for the first year and certainly beyond. So I'll paraphrase something that was shared with me when we brought somebody on that went through that transition. And he said he was deployed 2 times. He said he's been in life or death situations out there, and he said despite all of that, nothing was as scary as coming out from his service and going into the civilian zone. When his wife kind of stared at him and said, "What are you gonna do?" And he's got 2 kids, sitting there and having to face, this new life journey. He said that was more terrifying than anything. So we take that to heart. We know that that's a big jump, and we differentiate, from that experience that a non-veteran is going to take, hopping from job to job, to a person who's going to be changing their whole life. So they are treated differently over here at Pond. They are, certainly given more resources and talk through, even in advance of start, to say, hey, this is going to come up. What is this going to look like? I attended one of the breakout sessions where the guy was talking about business casual dress. Kind of chuckled, but those are the kind of things that we try to kind of give the experience as well. What do you need to be prepared for? When you're going on lunch break, what does that look like? Do you have to ask for permission? Do you not have to ask for permission? Like, all of those things are just really important to get them comfortable as they get started over here. And we always try to, similar to James's son, we try to have a buddy that's, ideally gone through that transition before, and that way they can kind of, take them, help them across those ropes and be able to support them through that. So the onboarding piece is important. Flexibility is really important as well. Again, we hear this all the time, when they're in service, basically their families are stuck, to wherever they are going to be stationed at any given time. And then once they come out, honestly, the employee is kind of stuck to say, wherever my family wants me to go, I am going to be there. So, we take that to heart as well. It helps us that we do have, multiple locations. We got about 20 different offices all spread throughout the U.S., some international, and it helps us to be able to kind of look at their given circumstances and say, what would make sense? Does it make sense to be here versus there? Or if they get an itch when they're in a certain location for a certain time, and they're saying, look, family's just not comfortable there. Thought we would be, maybe we'd be more comfortable over here. We certainly want to appreciate that and provide that flexibility when we can. So that's an important piece of our retention strategy. Training is really, really important, and it goes twofold. One is giving them training, and again, differentiating that. Going out there and saying, hey, we're going to have a special session that targets you, and your experience, and what's it going to look like to go through your first performance review, in a civilian setting. and see what that looks like. What does it look like when you're looking at career path, and something that's not going to be dictated to you, but something that you may have to look at and need multiple options to go towards? And how do you become a little bit more self-serving and a little bit more open, in terms of and candid in terms of where you want to go to, and making that ask, like all those things, we try to provide that opportunity. And then likewise, try to provide that training internally to our managers, to our HR staff, even at times, to say, hey, this is where these differences lie, and how can we best cater to them? And then engagement. Again, I think many of the folks here have already kind of spoken to this, getting them involved in community service efforts, getting them involved in things that they're passionate about. We have a philanthropy committee out here, and one of our tenants is giving back to veterans, and that could be through anything from Reach Across America to, we do a USO, pack the lunch for the folks deploying out after the holidays. We do lots of things throughout the year that they can get involved in. Some of them are peer service, some of them are just enjoyment, being able to just have that community out there. We do the same challenge points that James was describing. So being able to have that and being able to kind of bond over those things are important. And the final thing I'll say is feedback is so critical to us. And I think such a critical piece to our retention strategy. Being able to tell them what they're doing well, being able to tell them what they're not doing well, being able to have a little bit of empathy and grace if they overstep things or try some strategy, and all of a sudden we look back and we're like, culturally, that's not going to work here, but may have worked for the last 20 years for them. So being able to provide that feedback, not being scared of that feedback, that's part of what's ingrained in Pond. So we try to push that. We try to give them those opportunities. We try to encourage our managers to have that. And I think that's probably, if there's one piece that's most critical to us, it's that feedback piece throughout the journey, so that they always feel like they're growing. They're always feeling like they have, a chance to be successful. That's kind of the Pond rest.
Okay. All right. Sean, we'll let this over to Kyle. Brian, you.
Brian, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I think James and Kyle both hit it on the head. James with the sense of purpose, right? I think a lot of veterans, they want that sense of purpose when they come in for a career, right? They want to be challenged, they want to be engaged and involved, and they want to feel like they're accomplishing something. And Kyle with the feedback, that's huge, right? As a veteran, you're used to getting constant feedback. And that's something that I think that a lot of companies miss is that honest feedback, right? I think veterans need feedback, and without feedback, there's no correction, right? They don't know what to correct, so that you need to give them that feedback. And then besides that, I don't think veterans differentiate very much from any other employee, right? The onboarding, ensuring that you're doing performance reviews, right? The basics, and that you're communicating with your people, right? I think all of those regular systems that most companies have in play, it's just about how serious you take them, right? One of the great thing that we did here at Knowles is we did a company-wide culture survey where everybody in the company was given a survey, and based off of the results of that survey, we created a culture team, if you will, that, based off of the results of that survey, we broke them out into smaller groups. And then we went out and we asked, direct questions, and we were able to get the feedback from them, kind of peel back the onion, and some of the, I wouldn't say complaints, but some of the things that weren't great. And the number one thing I think any company will see when they do something like that is communication, right? Communication is huge. The communication's got to be there. The feedback's got to be there. Yeah, but they really hit the nail on the head with that. I don't really have much more to add to that.
Yeah, I think I think I'll just round it out because there's a lot of similarities. The challenge coin is one that is big for us as well too. Being able to identify veterans as well. So we do have badges and what we call badge buddies, so that you can identify who is serving, because there's a lot of value when someone is able to display that they are serving or have served at one point. So we do have that in our organization, and it gives them an opportunity to self-identify. That helps us in aiding in different veteran-based celebrations throughout the year. Our employee resource group, which we call the Military Colleague Network, because the biggest thing that a lot of veterans miss is the camaraderie And by giving that is something that not only are they missing, but if you give that to them, that you'll retain them with that. With that being said, I know with HCA Healthcare, we've had recently did a kind of like a synopsis of what was done, and we had over 13,000 hours of community service just from our military colleague network that was dedicated to the military community. So it was giving them an opportunity not only to come together with those who have served, but be able to give back to the community as well. And by having an active military colleague network, we found that they're 13% more likely to stay more than 5 years within our organization. So there was a direct correlation between the fact of them being able to connect with someone else and to have these opportunities to fulfill their purpose and service with staying with the organization as a whole. So basically just something very similar to what everyone else said with that, and the surveys and the ability for them to continue on with being together with everyone.
Nice. Thank you very much, everybody. We've got a couple of questions. So this one's for James. James, this is from Chris B. He asks, how do you utilize the service academies for prospective prospects? And before you answer that, we're down to 8 minutes. So I've got the clock going on. So James, how do you utilize the service academies for prospective prospects?
There's two meetings annually, one in DC and one in San Diego, that we attend, and we develop a relationship with a couple of deans at the schools. I think I saw the question in the chat as well. Not every member in Army, Navy, or Air Force go. Probably a large share, probably anywhere from, I don't know the number, but the majority do go and active, but there's a small portion that do not. And we want to leverage that small portion that do not. For Coast Guard and Merchant Marines, I think it's 100%, but we do have, we are building those relationships with the academies to work with and identify those individuals who are not going on active, but are going to the Guard or the Reserves.
Thank you. Are there any other questions that someone wants to ask? I'm going to go back to the Q&A. Chris, did that answer your question? Just give me a thumbs up and let us know so that we can move on. You can put it in the chat. Okay, I see it. Any other questions? We've got one more question to ask our poll. To ask our, I'm sorry, not to ask our poll, to ask our people. All right. So our next question, and we're going to start with Kyle with this. Kyle, what best practices or recommendations can you give to our audience today? We're down to 7 minutes.
I'll keep it short and sweet. So this is age-old debate between equity and equality, right? Do you treat people the same, or do you treat people a little bit differently to get them up to maybe the same or even better level? Over here, and my general recommendation would be, don't be afraid to choose the equity route. Don't be afraid to kind of look at veterans a little bit differently, provide them with opportunities, seek their feedback throughout the journey, provide feedback to them. I think, being able to acknowledge the strengths that they bring, which are very diverse, and many are differentiators for a company versus just somebody, coming from another, civilian job. Being able to appreciate that and recognize that, I think, is a selling point in itself to go after veterans.
Nice. Thank you. All right. After Kyle, Brian, what do you want to add?
Sure. A skill bridge program, right? Any company right now, if you don't have a skill bridge program, you're missing out. You should definitely, look into that, see what it takes to qualify for that. It's not very difficult. Put it together. It's an excellent program, mutually beneficial for the company and the veteran. Besides that, ensure the veterans at your company have a roadmap to promotion and success, right? Veterans are used to a ranking system. They'll go out there and they'll work hard, but they want to make the next level, right? So growth and development opportunities within a company is huge. And like we said earlier, feedback and keep them, keep them engaged and focused. And like I said, they want a challenge. So make sure you're challenging them. And that's really all I got.
Okay. Nice. Very nice. All right. Shambhala, you're following after.
Yes, and a lot that I had was very similar to both Kyle and Brian, which was, that feedback. And the key with the feedback is, and I've seen that a lot of times in some organizations, that people are afraid of either giving that honest feedback, because if it's not something that is palatable or nice, that they'll pull back from it and not want to give it. But with the veteran community, that's what they're looking for, because they want to be better. So don't be afraid to give that honest feedback, but also don't be afraid to receive that feedback and let them know, hey, this is something that as an organization you can do better to service us. So that's a two-way street. Going back into the challenges as well too, and making sure that to keep them engaged, like Brian was saying, that pathway for professional growth. But the last thing that I'll add is make sure that you have action behind their concerns and their resolutions. Nobody wants to sit there and hear all of the things that we're expressing that could be better and what I need help with, and there's nothing being done about it. And it becomes a waste of time, and that's when they don't feel valued and heard. So make sure that if you're doing all of these efforts, that there is some level of action behind it, so that it's not lip service and you're just doing it because it's the feel good thing for you to do in that moment.
Nice. I like that. I like everything you're saying, all of you. All right, James, we've got about 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, I tell you, it's hard to follow all those brilliant comments. So let me think of something. I think one is making sure that you enhance your mental health and EAP services for veterans, and ensure that things like disability accommodations are in place for that integration into the workplace if those services are needed. Definitely invested in professional development for veterans, and I think Brian mentioned as well, providing that clear career pathway, right? So that veterans understand, what's required for the next move or promotion on site. And I close it by saying, take advantage, leverage veteran skills, ensuring that you're offering them meaningful work so that they feel that they're adding and contributing to the organization.
Nice. Thank you all. I really appreciate all the information. I'm going to circle to our poll. So I asked, do you have a retention strategy for your veteran employees? So 11 votes, 24.44% said yes. 55.56% said no. And 9 votes at 20% said in the planning stages. So my question to everybody on here is, what are your takeaways that you just got from these ladies and gentlemen about retention that you're going to move forward? Also, in the last 2 minutes, do we have any additional questions? So my last bonus question, I'll look at the chat one more time. So let's see. Des says, speaking of mental health, did you all know that tomorrow is World Mental Health Day? Thank you, Des. Jim Beamsturfer says, and I'm sorry if I just wrecked your name, make sure veteran employees understand what benefits the company offers, and that way they can make an informed decision which to use. The VA versus company one example, that would be a great one for education. So my bonus question for everybody here with about a minute to go, is there anything else that you want to add? Anything that we've left out?
I think that's a good point around the health benefits. Like we have a supplemental offering that'll go to a person who wants to stay with their military benefits. So being able to explain how that operates, how it works, those are great things to bring to the table.
All right. So we're down to like 40 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much for joining us. Once again, we have Kyle Friedman, Shambhala Roach, Brian Brooks, and James Moore. If you haven't had an opportunity to, please go back to the participants, and if you so desire, connect with them. We've had a lovely day. Thank you so very, very much for all of your time, and I'm Janine. So thanks for joining us. Yay!